airplane?
Yes, I think so. And then you get the fine
Fold over?
pulled over, yeah.
Something on that?
Well, they report it.
Okay, there
There it goes, except for
That's
that.
fun, yeah.
So, but that's. But it didn't happen. So they know what we're
Oh, that's an egg food was real weird. One,
It's the wrong, I wondered if it was just the wrong.
Yeah, I think it's a.
That's my understanding.
I thought it was two, actually.
So.
And it's added this to my,
To your file.
my new book.
There we go.
2 letters. Different subjects, though. That works.
Oh, gee.
Is it just us three or is Jeremy today?
Jeremy's supposed to be here today. Sean will not be here.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
That's okay. That's okay.
It's up to you.
He is at his national sale meeting. I don't know. Jeremy and
IU National Championship.
Jeremy and I both leave tomorrow after all the time.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Phoenix with
Oh, yeah,
Zach.
you're gonna go buy a nice car.
Well, I don't know about all of that, but I think all of that stuff's way out of my price range.
You know, some of it's not too bad.
Hopefully we get back home on Sunday.
There's a podcast I listen to called The Impossible Life, and it's this guy who is a Navy SEAL. And he opens up his podcast, like the whole premise of his podcast is like, it's kind of a self-work improvement deal.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, most of the point of his podcast boils down to, if there's something that you want, if you had to, what would you be willing to give up type deal. So you could apply that to your car pursuits. If you had to, or if you wanted to, what would you be willing to give up? Maybe you'd be willing to make that.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't like old cars enough to do that. They look nice when they're somebody else's.
So one of your kids.
I could do that. I don't know. After they see what they eat, they may not want to buy it.
That's true, yeah. The stock's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Todd, I did have one question.
Go ahead.
On the financials. Is the $800 tufted armchair for your office, or is that for?
What's that?
It's a Halcott 29-inch wide tufted armchair for $739.
think
Is
it's
that for you?
It was like
No.
5 of them or 4 of them.
Oh, there's, okay, it's not just one.
Yeah, okay, it's 4 of them, it's for the new office inmates. The one we had Paul's open house, we had one chair broken.
Somebody broke.
Someone broke another leg off the other chairs, so we replaced the one that's in front of the office. That's 4 chairs.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was like,
3 times.
High back.
Sorry, I was, you were saying, I'm like, what are the 5 chairs? I'm like, oh yeah, it's the 4, because I knew they weren't that expensive. So yeah, it was 4 chairs from the front
Don't
office.
go below the yellow line.
Don't go.
Sign on
The other one I
yellow
gotta ask
line
my
and
wife
sign
about
on
is
the
the
line. Okay.
football
As
blocking
wide
pad
as
that she's
possible.
buying for the sped department. She's trying to do some in-school training for the program or not. So,
As wide as possible. I mean, that's kind of a new one. for
I know,
me.
that's kind of weird, isn't it?
I mean, I have a book to write anyways to start with.
Part of upgrading with the new employee portal for contracts will be pre-signed with the board president and secretaries
Okay.
instead of us stamping them.
I have an ex-chair. Tax office.
Where are my pens, buddy?
oh, is that
Oh,
one?
it's not.
The fancy one you see on TV?
Well,
It's still showing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the cooling and air and heating. I still spend $1,000.
he's in Florida. I don't think it's real warm in Florida either.
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, I need your signature, I'm gonna give this to you this time. Needs
Are we
to be
supposed to
on the
get
yellow
this?
lines, if you can see those little yellow lines there.
Then I
Three
keep seeing
times.
people say, oh, it's
My
all fake.
signature,
The weather rate guy,
Like
you ever watch
Seth,
Weather Wave?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
He talked
Needs to be on
this
the yellow
morning.
line.
And he said he's not making a prediction of how much yet, but Saturday night into Sunday will be the storm to really watch.
It'll be fun. I know it's supposed to be like -16 Saturday morning wind chill and stuff. So
Freaking crazy. I hate
at least you won't be here.
I know. It's not super warm in Phoenix either.
okay.
So
Thank you, sir. Sorry, I'll just.
You can keep with your,
Back to the
so,
office. Yeah.
I think so.
well, you're next to you on Yeah.
Bob had asked if they could come. Well, I think we have them there today.
Well, I mean, I threw it out. I told Brian, they can't just.
Sure. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we have to, so that they can be here.
Well, if they're on lunch,
Yeah, I don't know how that all works. Yeah, I don't know if they can just leave. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, he just doesn't. So, yeah, on the one I got ready to talk about, I said, like I just kind of struck through it all and said, this is judgmental stuff.
You're right.
Because I didn't struck.
they're trying to. If you're in football, listen to what they're saying. You go to the Y.
Right. Right. Yeah, they need to.
I am the tech guy. No man.
I'm trying to get the community.
Yeah.
Oh, now it's, I guess that's pretty much.
You put in yours, then I gotta
Yeah,
put it
sure.
in. Oh, yeah, this is. Changed it.
It's in.
The other is still working anyway.
So this will work forever.
This will work for everything.
You won't go to sleep if I'm here.
Oh, we had a few students get us a big day and then we'll have one. Appreciate it.
yeah, she's very close about it.
Yeah, I'm worried.
Some classes, yes. Not all of them. Some of the teachers. Certain classes.
guess we're ready to start today. We're gonna have the Board of Finance meeting first before we get into the regular Board of Trustees meeting. Each calendar year, it's necessary to establish a Board of Finance. For the current year, 2026, I, Larry Merkel, was elected president. Blaine Timonera was elected secretary. I now ask for a motion to be made electing new officers for the calendar year 2026. So do I have a motion for president and for secretary?
I'll make a motion for that, Larry.
For who to be president?
Are we not leaving it the same?
Well,
Just leave it the same.
okay. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, we'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the same slate of officers for the Board of Finance Committee for 26 as we had for 25.
Okay, thank you. You okay with that, Blaine?
Well, you'll need to vote.
Yeah, second that.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. By now, I asked, as being the new president, to preside over the remainder of the meeting. I will ask Todd Nobby for an investment report.
Investments for 2025, we had a total of $282,939.64. Of that, $224,439.64 was the education fund, and then the bond account, which is our investment account, it was $58,500.
Can you send all the members of the board a copy of that?
It's in the-
That's in the board packet.
Okay, thank you. All right. Second question for the finance meeting. Any checks outstanding for over 2 years that need to be voided?
The list was sent also in the board packet. The high school had a total of several checks totaling $939.08. All the other ECA treasurer account had $70.75, which were 4 of those checks, and the CO had 2 checks for $33.45.
Okay. Now, from the trustees here to accept all reports and declare the outstanding checks listed in such reports to be voided. So I need a motion from the trustees.
Todd, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
On the checks voided, I know in review of that, there's a few folks on there who are like employees. Is there contact with them as
We
far as?
contact them up till, and then they choose not to either ask for a check reissued or they don't find it.
Okay. And that's been done?
Yep.
Larry, I'll make a motion to approve the voiding or canceling of those outstanding checks on the report provided.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Stephanie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Last item on the finance meeting is a review of the financial condition of the corporation. Mr. Hunter will now share information regarding such condition of the corporation.
Thank you, Mr. Merkel. Each year since this requirement came about, we go through the information that's provided by the Indiana Distress Unit Appeals Board. They have information, financial information for every public school district. So anyone can go online and get this information in, and it goes a lot more in depth. We don't change the reports that they have. We report the information the way their default outputs, but you can dig in the information a lot more if you go to the website. This first slide just shows, and the one thing that I will say, because it's pulled from all the reports, from all the, that it will lag a little bit. So it's basically 24-25 data. So it's not completely up to date, but it provides a lot of trend data for you to be able to see the state of the school corporation. So for 24-25 fall ADM, we're at 2181. We had a little over $925 million in net AV, and the estimated population for Batesville Community School Corporation was a little under 13,000. This first slide shows our enrollment trends, and it's difficult to see here because they're actually, to have an increase of one student there, it's 1/2000th of one of those bars. So it looks pretty flat. It ranges over the course of this period from around 2,130 students to a high of 2,190 some students. That high point was reached back in 2017-18, so about the third year over on the graph. And that was when we had the readiness kindergarten. We had 4-year-old kindergartners that were included in our fall enrollment. That was taken away by the state. But overall, the trend is positive. We continue to grow and continue to be, relatively slow and steady growth. And that includes with transfer students, incorporated in that. The blue lines are the fall ADM, and the green line is the spring ADM. And typically we tend to lose some students from fall to spring count, mostly due to early graduations and some students that transfer out during the year. They also had categories for virtual students. We do not have any virtual students included in our enrollment. This graph here shows the fund balances, and it shows, you can see down below the bottom of that table, there are a lot of different funds that are included here. But if you start off on the left-hand side, you can sort of see a break. There are light green columns from the old general fund, the old accounting system for schools that ran through 2018. And then you can see in 2019, the light green goes away, and then there's an orange bar that was due to the creation of the education fund. So I think the most beneficial way to look at this graph is to look at each of the different colored bars separately to sort of see the trend overall. So the orange is the education fund, and you can see how our education fund has grown, how that trend has grown steadily since the inception of that fund in 2019. Mr. Raver has been on the board longer than anyone else, and he remembers some of you can see those green bars were we were ran a lot leaner back then, and we've been fortunate to be able to build up our reserves and stay above the thresholds that the board has set as targets. The yellow line is the operations funds, which was the old capital projects fund and became the operations fund. But you can see the overall growth in the fund balance in the operations fund as well. There's the debt service fund, which is the light blue. And you can see the light blue tends to be one of the taller lines early on. So one of the bigger balances that we had 10 years ago, and over time it's actually decreased, but that's due to changes with the Department of Local Government Finance reducing the amount that you're allowed to carry as a percentage of the expenditures in that fund. It used to be that you could carry 50% operating balance, and they reduced that to 15%. So over time, as old bond issues would expire and if new debt came on board, that had to be minimized. So that balance actually has decreased over time. And then there are a couple of, there's a dark blue line that you can see in 2021 is the largest balance that we had. You can see again in 2024, there's a dark blue that's pretty significant. Those represent general obligation bond issues that the funds were deposited in Mr. Navi's accounts here within the school district. So those are sort of irregular funds that we don't always have. And then you can see some negatives there. The negative fund balances basically are federal stimulus funds. So those are reimbursable expenses. We were granted the money, we had to spend the dollars, and then we got back to zero when we received the funding from the federal government. But overall, you can see our trends across all of those funds have been basically positive. The next slide will show everything sort of combined together. If there are no questions, I'll go on. So this shows revenues and expenditures. And so you can see the green represents revenues and the blue represents expenditures. So if the green line is bigger than the blue line, then we had a net increase over the course of any given year. You can see that is the case in most years. There is also a narrow black line that represents the total year-end balances across all funds. So you can see that that's grown over time, but also that balance includes all of those funds. So there are a few funds with the bond funds that are incorporated that may skew things, that it's not actually apples to apples. Up in the top left of this page, if you're online, you can toggle between all funds and take some funds out or look at individual funds at a time. And you can also go from a chart version to a table and just see the actual dollar amount. So anyone that goes to the DLGF website, indiana.gov/DUAB, Distressed Unit Appeals Board, can check out all of this data for every district. And this bar graph just shows the combined balances of all of those funds. So you can see again, we've increased it over time. We're much more stable than we were 10 years ago. And we've hovered around 25% operating balance the past several years. This graph shows all of the different revenue types that breaks down the percentages. So starting at the bottom, there's a red, and you can see it's fairly slow and consistent growth, and that is local tax revenue. So it represents all local taxes, property taxes, income taxes, any local taxes. So that has been a stable revenue stream for schools. Above that, you can see debt revenue is in green. So again, you can see that we don't issue debt every year. We don't have that on our books, but when we do, it shows up. So it provides, a boost of revenue in the years when we have had that. Above that in the pink is other local revenue, and that is can include, from going back to the left-hand side, including even ROD reimbursement back when we had our special ed through a cooperative, and then school lunch programs, anything that flows through the books that is not a tax revenue, any grants that we get would fall into this category. So it's something that's been fairly consistent over time. Then the vast majority of our revenue comes from the state basic grant into the education fund. That is in the blue, and you can see how over time, as we receive more dollars per student and as our enrollment has grown, that amount of money has increased as well. Above that, federal revenue, mostly title and special ed revenue. You can see how that has grown over time. Again, it was smaller back when we were a member of ROD. We got reimbursed from the ROD cooperative for our special ed expenses, but we had to pay them, and now we get that through the federal government. And then on the very top, let me see if I can't read it from here. Oh, is other federal dollars. So back when we received the ESSER's money, and including in 2024, we were still receiving the excellence grant that helped out with some of the things here at the high school and with the Innovation Center, some programs. So those federal dollars represent that top pinkish part of the graph, and going from 2021 through 2024. So any questions related to those different revenue categories? This is for school districts that have an operating referendum. This would show the history of that. We obviously have not had an operating referendum, so there's nothing to report there. And that concludes the report on the fiscal condition of the corporation.
Are there any questions from the board concerned? I will, Lane, did you have one?
I do not know.
Okay, I will declare this meeting adjourned, and then we can go on to the regular school board meeting. And we'll have the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, before we get the meeting full going, we are going to do the reorganization of the Board of Trustees. At this time, we as the board have agreed to keep all officer positions the same. That would be myself as school board president, Blaine Timonera as vice president, and Larry will be secretary. If no one has any issues or comments about this, I will seek a motion to approve the officers.
Do we want to include the other appointments as well, or is that a
I
separate?
don't have the full list.
I would say, I think it's just also worth noting that in terms of some of the other board appointments, right, we just made the necessary updates with Paul leaving and with, I think, including Brian McPhee at the high school in place of Andy Allen on a couple of items, but most of those are pretty straightforward.
And currently, we have Jane Rogers listed in the place of Paul Ketchum, since she is serving as interim superintendent at this point.
So Stephanie, with that said, I'll make a motion that we approve the slate of officers that was recommended, as well as the other board appointments updated to reflect for 2026.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second to approve?
I'll make the second to approve.
Thank you, Larry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mr. Hunter, I'll turn it over to you at this point for the BCSC vision.
All right, we start every meeting with our portrait of a graduate. Together with our community, Batesville Community School Corporation is committed to providing an engaging and relevant learning environment based on a strong foundation of academic knowledge, transferable skills, and real-world experiences. Batesville Bulldogs embody confidence, empathy, and resiliency to ensure 21st century success. And that brings us to our first consent agenda item, the consideration of minutes. This includes the regular December minutes, regular December meeting, along with two executive session meetings in January related to the superintendent search.
At Does anyone have any questions or comments on the minutes?
No,
No comment.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Larry. Do I
I'll
have a
second.
second? Thank you, Jeremy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The next item would be payroll journals and register of claims. I think all of those items should have been in the board packet. There have been some at your table, some additional claims today totaling just under $50,000 that came in late. Duke Energy represents over $28,000 of that amount. Our electric bills, Mr. Nabi gets those electronically now, and they came early enough to include with payment at this meeting. So that was $28,000. Our food service department had over $12,000 in bills to US Foods, who is their mainline food distributor. I believe there were a couple $1,000s in equipment leases for copiers and about $3,000 in welding supplies for the Innovation Center for our welding program. Everything else is relatively small amounts beyond that. But if there are any questions, maybe myself or Mr. Nabi could answer them for you.
Does anyone have any questions? Can I seek a motion to approve the payroll journals and registration of claims?
I will make that motion to approve.
Thank you, Blaine. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Larry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, that brings us to personnel. The personnel list was unchanged except for one item that was added, and that was for an extra time stipend for the FFA sponsor. So that's the only change from what was in your board packet. I will note that this personnel list does include the intent to retire from 6 of our teachers, which is considerably more than normally we have 2 or 3 in any given year. So a larger number than usual, and 1 classified staff member intent to retire as well.
I have 2 questions, Mr. Hunter. When will the job postings be posted for the teachers and the classified staff that are retiring? When do you post those openings?
They typically get posted probably early this spring.
It's really
I
just up to the
think,
principal, but-
yeah, depending on some of the positions are tougher to fill, in some departments. Actually, we have a principal in the room here.
It just really depends. As you'll see on your personnel list, there are some key retirements specifically here at Batesville High School that probably will be a little more difficult to fill than you might find with some elementary. So I anticipate that those will be posted once superintendent is in place, and then once high school principal is in place, maybe with some collaboration with Mel Seifert and Brian McPhee. But we usually, spring break is definitely kind of at the latest, to try to get those out and attract candidates.
The second question, our resource officers, how many do we currently have? And are we down 1 officer?
Yes, we had been up to 3 officers last year at one point, and then we dropped down to 2. We had mid-year this year, we had 1 officer resign, and that position has been filled, was approved in December's meeting, and is on board and at work. So we have 2 full-time school resource officers, and that is, at least currently, that is the intent to stay at that level.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anyone have any other questions about the personnel?
Yeah, Stephanie, not necessarily a question, but I do want to talk about the personnel. I know up for today's recommendation from Mr. Helvey is the fall sports positions associated with our football program. Just briefly, I know we've got some football parents here. I know that over the last number of months, there's been some concerns with the football program brought to some of our school board members' attention. And those concerns have been discussed by members of the school board and ultimately with Mr. Helvey, who's here today. And And those concerns are valid, and they've been taken seriously. They've been discussed with Mr. Helvey, and Mr. Helvey has done his job in reviewing those concerns and discussing those concerns with our football staff and our head coach. And there is, and our head coach, as I understand it, has taken those concerns seriously as well. That he has worked with Mr. Helvey, and I think he's working with our administration as well at the high school level to address those already. And I think he's taken some efforts on his own to already address those concerns unanimously or autonomously. So I just want to provide context or just some air to that the concerns from those parents and from our constituents have been heard, and they've been taken seriously. They have been addressed, and it is my plan, and I assume our board's plan, to make sure that the football program is going to continue to pursue the standards that we have for the football program as a community and as a school corporation in all levels. And so we will continue to monitor that, and Mr. Helvey is going to continue to monitor that to make sure that we're reaching those standards and pursuing those standards. And so just a comment from me on that, given my familiarity with the program and passion for the program. And so just wanted to provide those comments, but if nobody has any other comments or questions on that, I will make a motion to approve the personnel as submitted.
Thank you, Blaine. Can I see a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Larry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
That brings us to travel requests. I believe there was just one item that involved 3 staff members from the music department to attend the Indiana Music Educators Conference in Fort Wayne.
Stephanie, I'll make a motion to approve the travel request as presented.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second?
I'll second
Thank you, Larry. All those in favor say aye.
it. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
That brings us to a resolution to increase the salary of the Board of School Trustees. I'm not sure how long the salary has been set at the current amount, at $2,000, but I've been attending board meetings for 25 plus years now, and I know it hasn't changed in that entire time. And I don't think some people don't realize the amount of work involved with serving on the board, especially when you have some turnover at key leadership positions like we've encountered recently. But that is a little bit of background here related to this.
And Tim, just to add a bit more context to this as well, I think the state statute says that the board can be compensated on a basis up to 10% of the lowest salary teacher position. So with that now being $45,000, that would say that the board could be compensated up to $4,500.
Correct.
As a board, we met kind of an executive session and agreed that seemed excessive or whatever, but we did think that, to your point, being that it's been at $2,000 for well over 20 years, that adjusting it to the $3,000 mark seemed appropriate. So with that, Stephanie, I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution to adopt the new board stipend amount.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Larry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
That brings us to the financial report. So the financial report for the end of December, which is also for the full year of 2025, you can see up on the screen. The education fund, we started with the highest balance that we've ever had, over $2.3 million, with our basic grant and revenue of a little over $1.4 million. We had a larger than normal month for expenditures because we had retro pay for all certified administrative staff included in that. So that balance dropped almost $250,000 to finish the year at $2,070,700. $754. That's almost exactly where it began the year, within about $10,000 of where we started. So over the course of the year, relatively flat, but finishing the year at about a 12% operating balance. So above the 8% target established by the board, and leading us into January, which is a 3-pay month, at a high level there. The debt service fund also had a lot of activity in December, which it usually does not. We received our property tax draw from Ripley County, so our revenue was substantially higher than normal at almost $750,000. We also had roughly 50% of our expenditures for the course of the year, making our second half debt service payments, so over $2.1 million in payments out of that fund. So that balance dropped almost $1.4 million to end the year at $782,430. The operations fund, which also benefits from getting the property tax draw deposited, had over $1 million in revenue. Also affected by retro pays, but to a lesser extent, but $455,000 in expenses from the operations fund in December. That balance actually climbed by $559,000 to end the year at $4,373,689. With no activity in the rainy day fund, our balance across all funds dropped from the November 30th, but finished the year at $7,235,851. That is approximately $240,000 increase from 12/31 of 2024. Any questions with that?
No, makes sense.
We'll roll on to our construction expenditure report. You can see in December, we spent about $500,000 out of our 2025 construction bond account. Almost all of that was related to the roofing projects at the middle school and the high school. Those projects are wrapping up. There was a payment application for some remaining payments due in the board claims for today, but we're getting closer to closing that project down. That 2025 bond fund, the balance between what is managed in-house by Mr. Nabi and what is invested with the trustee totals $5,326,274 at the end of December. And the 2024 GO bond balance stands at $936,823. And it had very little expense last month. Any questions? We'll keep moving along.
Tim, real quick, on those bonds, do we still have some funds for one or both of those bonds that are unallocated that we
Yes,
still have access to? What is that amount? Just
right now,
ballpark.
the vast majority, we have probably less than $1 million that is committed out of those funds.
Thank you. And real quick on the roofing project, I know I sent you a text over Christmas break when the storm came through, so I know that I appreciate your promptness in handling that before calls started getting made to the city and into the schools. So I know there was the windstorm blew a whole bunch of our construction materials off into people's yards, and Tim was already on it at like 7:30 in the morning when I was out driving around. So anyhow, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Tim, I got one question on the 2024 GO bonds. We almost have $1 million there. What was the initial premise for doing that projects? What were we going to use that money for?
So there were several goals with that when we did that. One was to help manage our tax rate. We saw we were going to have our tax rate would drop off. So we wanted to sort of backfill that. obviously we were wrapping up several large projects out here, site improvements at Batesville High School. And we knew, even with some of the work we've done with adding on to the High School Innovation Center, we've done other improvements at some of the buildings. But projects such as the roofing project that we just completed, other mechanical projects and interior updates in a few places, those dollars would be able to be used to get our buildings back up to shape. And in addition, as an operations relief fund to give us a little bit of flexibility in managing the operations fund, which in the result of that is it gives us more flexibility even with our education fund. So as we've had some grant dollars to help us with Ivy Tech, as we've had some other revenue streams, we talked about the excellence grant that we received for high school. We've had things, the BCEF project with the Success Center, having those dollars to help be able to supplement those other programs has been really beneficial for us. So it's mostly for capital improvements across all buildings, but especially with the general obligation dollars, we have more flexibility as far as equipment needs, even including school buses. We've never had to purchase school buses from anything other than the operations fund, but a lot of schools can no longer afford to do that. So kind of looking ahead to provide some flexibility and knowing that we still have some facility improvements around the district that we are trying to get all caught up on.
So as I understand it, school buses now are like $250,000.
They've increased probably more than 50% since the beginning of COVID. Yes.
So what's our plan for school buses in this current year?
I believe we're replacing 2 buses at a cost of, and I believe they're traditional buses, not the flat nose front, at a cost of $360,000 total. So
will we use some of the GEO?
We don't intend to. Our operations balance is pretty strong. And so we have that money encumbered, but again, we have flexibility. So as things change, we do have options. So,
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. It brings us to patron comments.
At this time, if anyone in the audience would like to speak, we invite you to share your comments. Just a reminder, comments are to be kept school related. We ask that no employee or student name be named specifically. Sure.
I'm really not sure how I should go about this, so that's why if there's a different venue you'd like me to speak on behalf of, just please let me know. Real quick, I respect all of you that are here, and I appreciate you guys being here. In fact, when I saw the race thing, I understand how much time and effort goes into you guys being here, and I really appreciate that. So first and foremost, thank you. My name is Travis Cook. I've been a lifelong member of Batesville, born and raised, went to high school here. I have a 4th generation individual going to school here. And I love Batesville. I'm bought in completely. I work with the city as well. Most of you probably know me. So for me, this is a very near and dear place, and I would do anything for the community. With that being said, would you mind if I pass some paperwork out? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Like I said, I just want to make sure I go about things in the proper manner, so I appreciate it.
I'm not gonna walk over that just in case.
We'd laugh after we made sure you were okay.
That's right. I'll laugh later.
Thank you.
Once again, like I said, I really appreciate everybody being here. Is there a place you would like me to stand? It would be better or anything?
No, you're right there.
Okay, so I guess my question is, so I kind of have the categories of discipline here, as you see, and then there should be 1 through 4. Melissa, was there anything attached to that? So I kind of would like to give a hypothetical situation, if you don't mind. If you would like me to take this to a different venue and you feel it'd be better that way, please let me know. For this situation, let's say there's a student in high school, female, she's in a classroom full of students, boys and girls, teacher's there, and she is completely bare naked from the waist down, so everything is exposed to all the boys and the girls in that class. My first thing would be, based on the categories, and if you don't feel comfortable, I completely understand. If there would be a category that you would deem fitting of a general student doing this to another student in front of a classroom full of boys and girls.
Forcibly exposed.
Huh?
Forcibly exposed.
Forcibly exposed. Also, the individual may have been blindfolded. So if you don't feel that's, I completely understand. But I'm just trying to get some clarity on how that would work. What may going forward, like when I read through the categories, it could fit several different categories possibly. However, I feel, and maybe this is a good question to ask, for the categories, is that something the school board creates or they approve? Is that something the school board does?
They're created and then we approve them.
Okay, I didn't.
But I will ask, like, if this is something personal to you, I would ask that we table it for right now and have like a one-on-one conversation
Okay,
to see how things have been addressed and how things have been taken care of, just so we're not
okay.
putting
No,
everybody
that's
on
why
the
I wasn't
spot.
sure.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
I appreciate you
Yeah, I
bringing
would
that
be,
up.
I would be happy to, I'm pretty sure you have my number. You can just message me and we'll set up something if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and thank you all again. I appreciate your time. I apologize for taking your time. I know that's good, so.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else at this time? All right, Tim, we're ready to move forward.
All right, we'll move on to action items. The first would be approval of the transfer student deadline. The recommendation is to keep it the same as it has been, which is August 1st. I believe that has worked. It probably puts more pressure on Batesville Primary School than anywhere else as far as leading up to that point. If we're busting at numbers, and that would be where we could potentially have a large influx of students at the end and have to try to figure out what to do. But that has been consistently an August 1st deadline, and I believe we've worked through it, and that's the recommendation to continue with.
Does anyone have any questions on that?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the transfer student deadline.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Blaine. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is approval for membership in the K-12 Leading Indiana Co-op, the acronym CLIC. This is a food service cooperative that we've been in for probably more than 5 years. It's probably the largest school group in the state, and provides pricing on mainline food distributor, bakery, dairy, produce, other specialty items. They also provide professional development and assistance with compliance with state and federal school lunch program guidelines. So we benefit tremendously from this. I believe the cost is 36 cents per case goes to the cooperative for any items we order through that agreement.
And Tim, if I remember correctly too, like one of the benefits of the co-op is that we don't have to then go quote and bid all of those individual, I'll call them commodities, right? So there is some efficiency here as well as just getting us the best price because of
there's
volume.
buying power and a lot of administrative work on the back end. So yes, definitely. And we're a member of multiple cooperative organizations, but this one for food service has been a slam dunk for them.
Stephanie, I'll make a motion that we approve the membership in the K-12 Leading Indiana Co-op.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Larry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is approval of Neola policy updates, volume 38, number 1. These were sent out prior to the December meeting over a range of topics. I'm not sure if you have any questions in particular, or, but basically keeping our policies in compliance with state statute.
Yeah, briefly, Tim, and not necessarily a question, but I had reviewed policies, and there were a few that I had some questions on. The teacher appreciation grant policy, the staff evaluation, and then there were a couple others, and some of my concerns were mostly related to whether these policies reflected the personalized staff evaluations that like Mr. Stone King had worked on, and then how we also apply our tag grant or our tag dollars. And so I know I reached out to you about those, and then also with suicide awareness and prevention as well, and the drug testing and alcohol testing for CDL holders. And I know we had talked about that just briefly this morning, but and you had done some looking to see if those matched with our current practices. And as I understand it, you talked to Mr. Ketchum that all these policies, that all the infrastructure had been addressed with intent, with assuming these policy updates to be coming, and that our current practices fit within these policies is my understanding.
That is correct. So these were sent out prior to the last meeting that Mr. Ketchum held. There were major changes in the teacher evaluation tool this year, and there were major changes in the way that tag money, in the amount and the way that it would be could be divvied up across staff and to a much more limited number of staff. Mr. Stone King has been involved in both of these much more in depth than myself. I did reach out to Mr. Ketchum and make sure that, as we developed all these new teacher evaluation model and tag program, that it was in compliance, even though it was before we adopted the new Neola guidelines, that it was in compliance with new state statute, and everything is. So all of the changes that we are making, we are currently following those guidelines. I don't know if there's anything else, Brad, that you would have.
No, I think we were proactive with that, just for Paul's legislative background, and then Mr. Strauss and I being on the principal board, I think we just had a head start. So we made sure we aligned with the law and adjusted it for what was best for our teachers.
Yeah, I think specifically with the teacher evaluation tool, with the state going away from the 1 through 4 categories and to change to the GROW model that I know the board is familiar with, and that it was deemed to be much more useful and productive versus what we used to do.
And my concern was I just didn't want us to adopt a policy that undid all the work that you all had done previously. So I'm glad, obviously, I expected that to be the case, but just wanted to make sure.
I do think it's important to understand that the current teacher appreciation grant, the tag money, is a 2-year deal right now through the state, so that could adjust. We may only have 1 more year of it. It was a big change from what we previously had. So all the corporations were kind of evolving with that change, and will continue to evolve.
Yeah, and I believe with the tag money, or there are 3 different levels. Tier 1, $3,500. Tier 2, $5,000. Tier 3, $7,500. I think this year Batesville has chosen to have everything at Tier 1 at $3,500 level.
Well, I appreciate you doing some research on that, Tim, on short notice, and Brad, thanks for clarifying. So, unless anybody has anything else, I'll move to approve the Neola policy updates.
Thank you, Blaine.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jeremy. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The next item, we got word this morning that there were some details to be worked out. This was going to be for a high school overnight event, and they wish to table that. So I think that it may come back at another time, but for now, we will not approve that request. And that brings us, oh wait, do we have let's get through something. Had one more. Or was that pulled, certified and classified bank?
I see it's wrote here for the report, but it doesn't have for us to approve anything or
I
anything.
don't know. There was a,
There it is.
oh, there we go. So the classified sick bank, there was, there are a total of 41 members that participate of our classified staff. There are a total of 81 days donated, so a lot of people that had donated and maybe have gone on and are no longer employed here, but they did not use any days in 2025. The certified staff sick bank, there were 93 days donated at the beginning of the year. There were 2 additional days donated, so two new staff members that must have joined. They also did not grant any days over the course of the year, so they have 95 days in the certified sick bank. So not much to report there.
Thank you, Tim.
And then we have upcoming dates. We have a Professional Development Day on February 13th. We have President's Day Makeup Day on February 16th. And we have our regular February board meeting on the 18th at 12 p.m. here in the Bulldog Room. We also have the public hearing on the proposed superintendent's contract on Monday, January 26th at noon at the admin office conference room. So that will be coming up as well.
Does anyone have any comments that they would like to add to today's meeting?
You're not finished yet. School board appreciation, before we get to school board comments, I've worked with a lot of board members, and Batesville has been blessed with very professional and caring and responsible board members over the years. But I would like to thank you for your willingness to give of your time and your talents to the community and to our students to provide the best education that's possible. So Board Member Appreciation Month, thank you from myself and I'm sure from everyone else out here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that brings us to school board comments.
Anybody got anything?
I have nothing.
Meeting adjourned. Were you gonna say something?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Should we do any call?